Welcome back, as the case may be. And here we are on episode 8 of Moorditj Education, our podcast all about Moorditj education, which is excellence in education, taking a really broad and holistic view at a lot of concepts and ideas, and particularly from an Indigenous perspective. And as always, I'm joined by my main man, Laurence Fuster. We're really going to get personal in this one because this podcast is all about staying true. And to begin with, I want to tell you how this podcast came about. It came about due to a particular tattoo, or let's say set of tattoos that Laurence has. And let's start by hearing the story of those tattoos and how it led to our episode today, Staying True.
Well, the story behind these tattoos were, simple enough to stay true to yourself, stay true to who you are and the man you are. At the time I got this when I was very young. I probably got him in a different lights, in a different circumstance. And it's funny actually because I got these in a time where maybe I wasn't even true to myself. I got these in a time where I wasn't really staying true to myself, but deep down, I had this knowing, and it's important to stay true to yourself. But I got them anyways. Out of every single tattoo that you could have got, stay true.
Yeah.
Because the importance of staying true to yourself is it's vital.
Yeah.
But at that time, I didn't know that. I think at the time I wasn't even really staying true to myself. But it reached out to me. It was like, you know what, stay true. I love that because you can stay true to any environment or situation you're in, or any kind of, view or perspective, or who you are at the time. So maybe I got this tattoo staying true in a different light than having him now.
So if you think back, do you think it was an accident? Do you think you were just, a young kid with lots of bravado, I'm going to stay true? Do you think it was an accident? Or do you think it was the innermost part of yourself guiding you?
I think it was, at the same time that bravado and, stay true to yourself, stay true, cool, this and that. But something at the same time, you could say a balance, the good and the bad. I got that probably at a bad time, but at the end, at the other part is that knowing, stay true. And what does that mean? What does that mean to stay true? To me, it means, staying true to who you actually are. Staying true to yourself and, understanding what you've been through and what you've experienced, and that's a part of you, and that's a part of the man that you are, and the things that you've been through is the man that has come out of that. And I want to stay true to that. I want to stay true to what I've been through. I want to stay true to holding myself accountable when I never did, Yeah,
because we often have the opposite, don't we? Like, if there's something not so good in our past, we really want to get rid of that.
Yes.
But you're saying the opposite.
It's important to
incorporate it.
Incorporate your past. Don't dwell in the past.
Yeah.
You could use the past as motivation.
Yep.
You could use the past as an influencer. You could use the past as a tool to use.
Yeah.
We must learn from the past. It's important. We must not dwell in the past, but we must stay true that we were once in that past.
Yeah.
And the past is still a part of us.
Hmm. I like how you put that because it uses the past as a very as an ally, a very active thing. Because we usually are the past is past and forget about it. But you're saying use the past as an influencer, use the past as a tool
Yes.
to,
It can
to go forward.
either be your greatest ally or your
Yep.
greatest enemy. Depends how you see it, but depends how you use it. The past can be a very tricky place
Yes.
to live
Yes.
in, if you still are living in that space.
So maybe we've got this ally there, but we didn't really even know it.
Exactly
We
right.
think it's an enemy to be shunned.
Exactly right. You know.
Yeah.
So what do? You know, use it as a motivator, as a contributing factor to our success, to a contributing factor to our growth and transformation. Because the past, it has shaped us
Yes.
through what we've been through, what we've experienced, what we've encountered, the hardship of life, and the setting we have involved ourselves in.
Yes,
and coming out of that, we can use that as a motivating factor to influence and to inspire us to form a greater future in a present moment.
Crystal clear, crystal clear. Yet again, inspirational words, and well, I even thank you at this point for those inspirational words. So, you know, what does staying true to yourself mean? Because, you know, we hear that phrase. It's so easy to say, but let's just break it down a bit more. What does it mean? Does it mean, you know, telling yourself in the mirror every day, you know, don't forget your name is Laurence. Don't forget your name is Andrew. Or what? Let's go into that phrase now.
I think, you know, if you look in the mirror or you tell yourself, you know, this is who you are. It's who you are. No matter what you've been through, no matter what you've experienced, what you've overcome, what you've lost, what you've failed at, it's who you are. And you must stay true to that. You must stay true to yourself. And it's important, the true factor of staying true is to stay true to what you want to do, what you want to say, and the truth of your message. Imagine somebody that is controlling us, the puppet master, the person that controls us from the far.
Yeah.
He tells us what to say. He tells us what to do. He tells us how to act. We aren't staying true to ourselves. We are staying true to his influence of us, of what he wants us to do. But it's important to stay true to where you want to go and to continue on with that path, no matter who tells you it's not you, no matter who tells you that it's too hard, and no matter who tells you that it won't work out. You know what? I'm going to stay true to my vision. I'm going to stay true to my dream, and I'm going to stay true to my calling. And I'm not going to let anybody shun that away. I'm not going to let the puppet master control me.
Now, who is this puppet master? Now, is it an inner voice? You know, sometimes we think about, you know, the little angel, the little devil on the shoulder.
The
is
inner
it
voice.
Someone else? Is it the world? Is it society?
It could be the inner voice.
Yeah. The ego, or
the ego. It could be. That version of yourself that is controlling you that you're not controlling. You know, it's important to control self, not to be controlled by self.
So an aspect of yourself that's maybe getting out of check, out of balance.
Exactly right.
Okay.
You know, or it could be a friend, a family member, a colleague. It could be somebody that wants us to do what they want us to do for them. It's putting us on their stage and having us say what they want us to say, neglecting what...
dancing for them.
Yes, dancing for him, dancing for her.
Yeah.
But we're not staying true to ourselves. We are merely just... We're just a puppet
Yes, yeah.
on a bunch of strings. And we're not staying true to who we are and our identity and our vision and our dreams because we're on stage talking about things that we don't believe in, but we're doing it anyways because they tell us to.
Yes.
It might be for money, it could be for anything.
Well, let me flip the question a little bit. What factors lead us to lie? Like, to lie to ourselves, to not be true to myself. So, you know, if I think I'm inherently like a generous person, what factors lead me to be not true to myself?
Well, it could come down to our deep desires,
Yep.
our true deep desires. You know, our doing something or taking something that isn't right.
Yeah.
It could be an abundance of wealth.
Right.
It could be materialism. It could be pleasure. It could be anything that distracts us or takes us off our path of what's true. It is a false. It is a false. It is a false. How can I say this?
Kind of sense or
Yes,
or
it's a false
perception?
sense. You know, staying true to our path, but this person offers us this and that, so we take that. You know, we are neglecting our true path because here we have this abundance of wealth, of materialism, of pleasure, or anything that we have desires around, but we take it and we neglect our true path.
So why are we so, it seems, we are so easily led?
Yes.
Yeah. Why is that? Is it simply because we're immature, you know, we're growing?
I think...
Why are we so easily...
Because maybe in the past we've always been led. Maybe in the past or through people that we've been around, they have always led us. We have never led ourselves. We have always been sheep. We have never been lions.
Yeah.
We are always following the shepherd.
Yes.
You know?
Do you think in like education and teaching and learning, do you think that contributes as well to creating people who, you know, we're sort of almost trained to follow at school, aren't we? You know, like the whole message is kind of do what you're told.
Yes.
And conform. It's never sort of like do what you want or be who you want to be.
In a society, in a industry or a curriculum that only sees black and whites, we must incorporate colour. We must bring ourselves. We must bring our values,
Yes.
our morals, our principles, our understandings, and our wisdoms and teachings. Whether they don't understand it, whether they don't accept it. But if they don't understand it, why not try to understand? But if they don't accept it, why are you not accepting me?
So how do we sort of like, you know, maybe in the education system, teaching and learning, do you think there needs to be a deeper change to the curriculum?
I think it's important to actually start to bring out the strengths and to start to bring out the creativity and to start to bring out who this individual wants to be.
Yeah.
Who this person wants to be, not who you want him to be or her to be.
Yeah, that's crystal clear. Yeah, what you're saying. Yeah.
You know, we don't want to do this, but our learning's all about this. We're being taught how to do this. We're being taught how to become this.
Yep.
But are we being taught how to become who we want to become? What we want to do? Are we being taught of, are we being told, or are we being allowed to actually do or become and to be who we want to be? Because in a school, and you're so young, that's the best time to plant the seed.
Yes.
At a young age.
Yes.
You know, and they grow and they go into life with that same seed that is constantly being grown.
Well, I think there's a huge mindset shift for a teacher, changing from you need to learn this and you need to do this and you need to be there by year 1 and year 2. From that to who do you want to be and how can I help you to become
so
that?
Exactly right. So imagine going to a classroom on your first day.
Yeah.
Instead of being given all this stuff that we have to do if we're doing a certain topic, imagine the teacher sitting there and being, okay, Andrew, who do you want to be? What do you want to learn?
Yeah.
Who do you envision yourself, and what kind of person do you hope to become? And how can I provide this teaching?
I totally agree with you. That there needs to be more of that. I think that's really world-changing, what you're saying.
But it comes from a human perspective.
Yeah.
It's not, all this education is not thrown upon us.
Yep.
You know, if we understand this person, if we understand this human, and if we understand what he wants to do in life, you know, at a young age, we might not know. We might not even understand.
Yep.
But why not ask the questions anyways?
Of course. Yeah, I totally agree. Can you give us a little insight, into who does a young Indigenous person want to be, nowadays? And of course, we're not speaking for everyone, all Indigenous people. Maybe you could just speak for yourself if you want to.
Well, yeah, I can't speak on anyone else's behalf.
Yep.
Because that's not for me to say.
Yes.
But I can speak on my behalf as a young Indigenous man myself.
Yeah.
I never knew what I wanted to be. I never knew where I was going or the man I wanted to become because I was too young.
Yep.
But I was never given those questions. I was never given those questions in the first place.
Right.
So therefore, I never
thought about it.
I never thought about it because I was never given those resources and those questions to think about. I was told that this is this, that is that, and this is what we learn.
Yes. Never an exploration into you.
Never understanding who I am and really understanding who you're teaching. It's important to actually understand what these young individuals have been through and their backgrounds and cultures and what they want to do. Whether that might be an astronaut, it could be a bus driver, it could be a doctor, it could be a healer, it could be anything.
Yeah. Well, in the Australian teaching standards, one of the standards, and the first standard is know students and how they learn. I think that's, I always, to this day, I think it's very underestimated. To know your students, I think, is more about this, that real deeper exploration.
That deep connection.
Yeah.
That understanding of who your people are. You know, that understanding of what they've been through, and that understanding of not everybody's going to be the best at a certain subject or a certain teaching.
Yes.
You know, yes, it's important to see where they're at.
Yes.
You know, some person might be super ready. Some person might not even have a clue what you're talking about. Some person might be too scared to take the next step. It's important that we understand who we're teaching and where and how we can work from their level where they're at.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Now, you were talking about, you know, staying true to yourself, and we often hear, even in different also religions, we often hear the path, you know, staying on the path, and is that how you see it? Staying true to yourself. Do you see it as a path, a journey? Is it fulfilling your destiny? Is it rising to meet the challenge? Is it some sort of fight or battle going on with yourself? How do you see the whole process, like symbolically or metaphorically?
It's a funny story actually, because when I was in prison, I actually started to venture more down this track. I actually started to venture more down this journey and this deeper understanding of what's true to me, and how can I stay true to myself. You know, I was always scared to be myself around people that didn't accept that. I was too scared to say the things that I wanted to say. I was too scared to cry when people would see me as weak. I was too scared to voice my opinion and to be different, because I became the same as everybody else at one stage, because I wanted to fit in.
Yeah.
I wanted to fit into what everyone else was doing and what everyone else was saying, what everyone else liked.
In the prison system?
Not just the prison system, but in life in
Just
general.
in life in general, yeah.
I had different things that I loved, things that it would be different to what they like to do. But instead, I did what they wanted to do, because it was how I built connection. It was how I fit in, regardless of me not liking it. I did it anyways, you know. But when I was in prison, when I was in segregation for, you know, at Hakia for a night, and I said to myself, the first thing I said to myself at night, I said to myself, what do you want to do? Who do you want to be? And the first thing that came to mind, the first thing that entered my mind was to help people.
Right.
Was to help people. But in order to do that, I must help myself.
Right.
And that's a part of staying true to the bigger picture.
Yes.
Before your truth came out of, I want to help people, man, you can't help anybody until you help yourself. Dude, come on. You know, you have to look at the bigger picture. If you want to stay true to who you are and your mission in life and your vision and your dreams and your goals, the foundation is you. You are the foundation.
And it sounds to me like you're saying the beginning point of all this process is asking those questions.
It's asking the questions that...
to yourself, or maybe to the student if you're teaching, or the person you're helping.
100%.
Yeah.
But we must help ourselves. Well, for me anyways, and this part of staying true is a part of that.
Yep.
So once I said that to myself, and that journey began, that true journey began of helping others. So I decided to do the work.
Yep.
I decided to be uncomfortable, and I decided to put myself in scary as shit situations, you know, to venture outside of what I don't know. But I had to do that. I had to, and I've got to continue to do that in this very moment.
Yeah.
In life, I have to still do that.
Yep.
Because the journey of helping others and to help people transition is a journey that takes years, but it's a journey where you must master yourself before you can help anyone else master themselves.
Yes, and I love how you also point out, because in the previous episode, you were saying you must have done it yourself first in order to do it. But what I really love about what you say is that teacher or educator or that helper must be continually active.
Yes.
Must be continually active. Not only, well, I've done it. I've done it, and
Imagine helping somebody that has had a difficult life and that has experienced so much hardship. Imagine this teacher comes along and offers help.
Yep.
Imagine this individual that helps this person bring up all this past trauma and this past stuff that he wants to work through. But imagine bringing all that up to the surface and this teacher leaving. He then has to work through that himself.
Yep.
Without not knowing how to work through it, not understanding of what's been brought up. He must do it himself. This teacher has brought everything up to the surface and hasn't put a safety net around him to work through these things that have been brought up. Now, you could imagine how hard that would be to actually transition through years and years and years of past trauma that this teacher has brought up without actually working through it and starting to go deeper and start to actually work through each problem at the roots. But he or she leaves, and this individual has to work through it himself. He has to work through years of whatever this person has been through.
Yeah.
Imagine if this person didn't know how to come out the other side. You could imagine how severe the mental health would become.
Yes.
How bad and how far it might set him back.
And I think teachers are guilty of that as well. They do a bit of an intervention, and they sometimes think, well, my job is done.
Yes.
I've given the information.
The job is never done.
Yeah.
It is never done. But
Yeah.
it's important that if you want to teach people or help people, you're going to bring up, especially in a space of mental health,
Yes.
you're going to bring up so much past stuff that this person has never gone through or ventured through because it's too scared. If you bring all that up, you must learn how to contain that. You must learn how to contain it and help him work through it. Otherwise, you have created more mental health issues. You have created more trauma, and you have brought up so much stuff that is dangerous, and it can become very dangerous if it's brought to the surface.
And you've left them with it.
You've left it there. And how do you expect this individual to work with that?
Yeah.
Imagine if you're working with someone that's 40 or 50 or 60 years old. Imagine that's 40 years of trauma that this person has experienced, but you have brought all this up to the surface, which takes this person back to a child when he was experienced all this abuse. But you have brought this to the surface and you have left this person. Imagine the feeling of overwhelmness of, fuck, this is scary, this is dangerous. Because now I don't know what to do with myself. I've brought all this stuff up and I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
I'm scared.
Yep. So, in the process of staying true, we need those teachers and educators and helpers to journey with the person
100%.
almost.
Exactly right.
And not just like, I deliver some content and there you go, I've done it.
Exactly
Go do
right.
your homework.
Yes. It's
Yeah.
the same with all this information that we've been given, but we're not taught how to process it.
Yeah. Now, you've done that in a wonderful way because you talk about doing the work. Well, you've literally done the work because you created a program that is now in text form that supports people in prisons to get. It's a self-discovery program And if you want to know a bit more about that, feel free to contact me or Laurence about that. Is that part? I imagine that program is part of the support system. I imagine you really need a human, a flesh and blood person to help, but your program is a resource that can,
Yes.
help the person once that stuff's been brought up.
But it's important with such programs that, because self-discovery it's discovering who you are. And you could imagine the things that come up, things that you've never known about, or things that you may know about, but you're too scared to understand it in more depth and in more context. So it's important that these programs, or just this way of being and thinking and teaching, is supported.
Yep.
Because you can't help someone self-discover themselves with them bringing up so much about themselves
Yep.
without having things put in place to look after themselves. But the most important thing is that we can't change anybody.
Yeah.
The most important thing is that we understand that. All we can do is influence them and give them the resources and the understanding and the teaching and the knowledge and the wisdom to do that. But to not teach them, to not be up there as a teacher, to be beside them as a fellow brother or sister,
Sure.
and to work with them
Sure.
in a human way,
Yep.
with feelings and emotions and belief and values, and of being in that space of genuinity and vulnerability,
Yes.
and working with them through that space, so they're not alone.
Yep. Crystal clear. Yeah.
And and when I did the programs and the topics, I always went to go see him straight after the program, and I saw him the next day, and I sat with him and I said, we talked about the progress and the results and what is coming up and how can we continue to transition.
All right, now the last little thing I want to ask, what would be your message for people out there who at the moment are not really so true to themselves? Now, I know it's because it's easy to say be yourself and stay true to yourself, but I think that some people out there right now, they will have maybe a little nagging feeling or a little bit of a sense, but how can they, well, maybe it's a double question, and you've kind of answered it with the, begin with those questions, but I'll ask it again anyway. How can they begin to recognize the symptoms, like, geez, that's a classic symptom of not being true to myself, and what is just some initial starting steps? We're just trying to help those people who are really, for want of a better word, just blind to the fact that they're not being true to themselves in this moment. So what could they look out for as symptoms of that, and what's just a little step they can take in the right direction?
So there's two questions,
Yep.
but there's only one answer.
Right.
The answer is you must understand yourself. Understand yourself before you work with yourself.
What is the first little step maybe to understanding yourself? What if, I'm just trying to think of people who are, absolutely in the middle, in the blackest of the darkest of nights and lost. What would you say to them?
Eliminate who you are not and find who you are. Eliminate who you are not first.
Yep. Mate, I'm going to leave it on that sensational bit of practical advice. I really love that. Eliminate who you are not. I can relate to that myself. I think over the last 10 years, I suppose, of my life, I've tried to cut out little. That's not who I am. I'm not interested in that.
Yep.
It's not really who I am. But eliminate who you are not, I think, is fantastic advice. And mate, thank you as always.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you as always.
Always a pleasure.
Will you join me just for 2 more episodes, episode 9 and 10.
Of course I
And
will.
can't wait for the next one.
Me too.